Really quickly, I want to preface this video by saying that this isn't a conspiracy theorist. Anything I talk about in the video is well-documented history. It's just stuff that you just won't hear about on a day-to-day basis. It's just not talked about a whole lot. But I hate conspiracy theories. I hate pseudo-intellectuals. I hate pseudoscience. Never group me in with them niggas ever. Please and thank you. But anyways, enjoy the video. Today's topic is 9/11 and Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan is responsible for 9/11. For a long time, it's been speculated that 9/11 was an inside job, and people have all types of theories. The most famous one that I can think of off dome would probably be that people think Bush caused 9/11 to secure his re-election. But when you hear all these theories, you never hear anyone talk about Ronald Reagan, ever. So if you're not too privy to politics and you're also young like me, then you probably don't know a whole lot about who Ronald Reagan is. So I'll give a really brief summary on who Ronald Reagan was. Ronald Reagan was a former Hollywood actor turned president.
You get back to the hotel and stay there.
I said, I like it here.
Well, I can change that in a hurry.
He was a two-term president from January 20th, 1981 to January 20th, 1989. His campaign slogan was, "Let's Make America Great Again," or L MAGA. He was responsible for the funneling of crack in the black neighborhoods in the 80s. He raised the price of college tuition so black people couldn't afford to go. And he is infamously associated with the phrase trickle-down economics. So trickle-down economics, in theory, is supposed to mean that if you tax the rich less, they'll have more money to give to the poor, but they never end up actually doing this. What happens in reality is that rich people just hoard the wealth. They hoard the extra money and they never spend it. All that money that they saved on their taxes, they do fucking nothing with it. Rich people complain all damn day long about taxes are too high. We're always bitching about some stupid shit and they don't do anything with the money. That is the problem. So since that money isn't flowing through the system, it isn't flowing from business to business or from hand to hand, there ends up being less money to go around. Notice how there's a lot of similarities between Trump and Reagan. Trump pretty much bit the douchebag swag of Reagan in every way possible. In fact, Trump copied Reagan so hard that he even copied the fact that Reagan had dementia in his second term by getting dementia in his second term. Reagan and Trump are really similar. The only real difference that I can think of off dome would just simply be Reagan had more manners. Reagan wasn't as rude as Trump. That's about it though. Everything else pretty much the same. Boom. So now that we understand who Reagan is, let's actually talk about the meat and bones of this video. The Reagan Doctrine was a U.S. foreign policy strategy aimed at countering the influence of the Soviet Union during the Cold War. It involved providing support to anti-communist movements and governments, often in regions where the Soviets were believed to be expanding their influence. Basically, the Reagan Doctrine said to give all the money, guns, and training to anyone who opposed the Soviets. For example, and I'm sorry if I butcher this if you're from this place, the Nicaragua Contra affair. The original Nicaraguan government party was called the Sandinistas, and they were supported by the Soviets. So the USA supported the Contras, a right-wing, anti-communist, religious extremist group. The Contras were known for shit like human rights violations, mass murder, executing children, burning hospitals, and drug trafficking. And they were also a big reason for the entire crack epidemic. And that's also thanks to Reagan, but that's a topic for another day. Keep in mind, the United States was aware of all of this and it didn't matter. All that mattered to the USA was protecting capitalism by destroying communism by any means necessary, even if it meant the complete destruction of another country. This is why so many immigrants, even to this day, flee to the USA, because we have destabilized country after country in a decades-long pissing contest with the Soviets. And now that we understand that the USA doesn't give a damn about who they support as long as whoever they are supporting fits the USA's agenda, let's talk about the Mujahideen. The Mujahideen are a religious, right-wing, anti-communist, religious terrorist group based in the Middle East. Through something called Operation Cyclone, the CIA was able to funnel $3 billion to the Mujahideen to fight the Soviets. Just like the Contras, any weapons, training, or cash was given to the Mujahideen, no questions asked. And although at the time they weren't important, two members of the Mujahideen would go on to become some of the biggest figures in American history. These two members were, and forgive me if I say this wrong, I don't really give a fuck anyways, Jalaluddin Haqqani and Osama bin Laden. These two would go on to become the founders of Al-Qaeda. And I want you to think about that for just a second. The USA pissed away $3 billion to literal terrorists. A permanent supportive housing unit cost roughly $150K. So with $3 billion, you could build 20,000 units, meaning that's 20,000 homes for homeless people with just $3 billion. In fact, if you really wanted to penny pinch, you could end up turning these 20,000 housing units into something like a dorm, almost like a college dorm, and you could end up housing anywhere between 40 to 80,000 homeless people. The average in-state college tuition in the USA is $11,610. So with $3 billion, you could send 258,000 kids to college for free. Completely free with this money that they pissed away to literal terrorists. With $3 billion, you could feed 20 million people. I just have to get you guys to understand how easy so many of the fucking issues that we have here in the USA, how easily we could solve them if we just tried. The issue is that we don't want to. We make a deliberate choice to not do these things. The USA pulls in over $5 trillion a fucking year. If we can piss away $3 billion to literal terrorists, we can give fucking kids here cheaper tuition, or we can give homeless people some homes, or we can put fucking food on people's table. And at home, you know, we're thinking shit sweet, we're all mission complete, we won, fuck those commie bastards. But the issue is that now a group of terrorists is in charge of an entire government, of an entire country. Now don't get it wrong, the USA didn't give a damn about the citizens of Afghanistan. So when faced with this whole dilemma, the USA government pretty much said, fuck them, not our problem. So with the Mujahideen now in charge, Afghanistan fell into complete chaos. A civil war broke out. Before the fall of Afghan, they were a kinda progressive country. Women could vote and they played a big role in society, whereas now they're pretty much just slaves to the men of society, of Afghanistan society. After some time had passed, the Mujahideen eventually splintered into two different groups, those both having massive influence in Afghanistan. Those groups being Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. In case you aren't familiar with these groups, I'll explain really quickly. Talib in Afghanistan means student. The Taliban means Pashto for students. And they were an ultra-conservative group of students who took over Afghanistan with promises of stability. But then when they got in power, they imposed a very brutal and violent regime. This same regime knowingly and willingly harbored Al-Qaeda within its nation. And they worked with the motherfuckers. Al-Qaeda is the global terrorist/jihadist group led by none other than Osama bin Laden, the key man responsible for 9/11. Before he was number one on America's shit list, Osama bin Laden was a Saudi millionaire turned jihadist. During the Soviet-Afghan War, he ran something called Maktab al-Khidamat, which means the services office. Now, this name sounds like a boring corporate HR department, but it was actually a jihadist recruitment pipeline that the CIA and ISI enabled. Think of Mach like terrorist Uber. It shuttled radical foreign fighters into Afghanistan and it trained them and armed them. Okay, now shit seemed real sweet at this point in time for both parties. Bin Laden got what he wanted. The atheist Afghan government is now gone, and the US got what it wanted by successfully backing another anti-communist coup. But there was one little hiccup. During the 90s, the US kicked off one of its lesser-known wars called the Gulf War. Pretty much, Iraq invaded Kuwait The United Nations, which was spearheaded by the USA, came to Kuwait's defense. The war only lasted 6 months, but during the war, the UN had troops stationed all over the Middle East. One of those places being Saudi Arabia, and bin Laden was pissed about military troops being there. He said the US was polluting the Holy Land. Saudi Arabia contains Mecca and Medina, Islam's two holiest cities. Bin Laden viewed non-Muslim military presence as contamination of sacred soil. On top of this, the U.S. set up long-term military bases in the area even after the Gulf War had ended. Bin Laden had felt betrayed. After fighting the Soviets with CIA/ISI support, Bin Laden saw the Gulf War as America replacing the Soviets as the new Middle East colonizer. And the final straw for Osama was when the U.S. brought Western bars/strip clubs near sacred sites with these new long-term bases. The troops alone already made him mad, but bringing what Osama would view as degenerate culture near these holy cities was crossing the ultimate red line in the sand. The whole reason he overthrew the Afghan government was because they were atheists. He didn't really care that they were communists. So to see the same people who helped him overthrow the non-believers start disrespecting its religion and its holy land really upset bin Laden to the fullest extent. In an interview from 1998, he stated,
"For over 7 years, America has been occupying the lands of Islam in the holiest of places, plundering its riches, dictating to its rulers, humiliating its people."
So, in 1996, Osama declared war on America and cited the Quran 9:1-3. Fight the unbelievers surrounding you. And they did this with CIA funds. After a couple years, bin Laden stopped running mock to establish Al-Qaeda. This is around the same time the Soviets left. Osama bin Laden, even on multiple occasions, thanked the United Supports for their support in overthrowing the atheist communist government in Afghanistan. And do you see what I'm getting at here? Do you see where the dots are connecting? Our direct interference in Afghanistan led to Osama bin Laden being in a position of power within the Afghanistan government. Had we just let other countries self-determinate, none of this would have ever happened. This is the real American history. This is all we fucking done since World War II. The biggest powers after World War II were the Soviet Union and the USA. And we have tried to make it our mission to defeat Soviet Russia at any means necessary, but not even really defeat them on a battlefield. All we care about is just keeping capitalism as the #1 market economy, and that's it. So we just have this endless fucking blood trail of country after country, civilization after civilization, people after people, this just endless slaughter, this endless bloodshed by the USA, by the United States, in order to keep capitalism as the #1 market economy. This is what the real American history looks like. Even after the Cold War ended, we kind of never stopped this pattern. We repeated the exact same things in Iraq and Syria, and even today, you're still seeing those exact same consequences play out to this day. Okay, really quickly, let's recap. So we gave $3 billion, more than that, honestly, but for now, we'll just say $3 billion, right? $3 billion to terrorists, and then we armed them with top-tier weapons and trained them with top-tier training, right? Those same terrorists went on to become Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, took over Afghanistan, and then eventually caused 9/11. Then we spent $2 trillion in a 20-year war in the Middle East, but specifically Afghanistan, fighting off the same terrorists we created. These same people are fighting us with U.S. weapons, U.S. gear, because we gave it to them. As unfortunate as it is, as I would love to put all of 9/11 on Ronald Reagan, I cannot say that he directly said yeah, okay, in 20 years, nigga, I want y'all to go fly these 2 planes into these big ass buildings. I don't think Reagan did that. I'm gonna be honest right there. I don't think he did that. But what I'm trying to get across in this video is that all of the actions taken in his administration directly led to this. I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm born here, raised here, and I'm not gonna lie. I like living in the USA. I've never been outside the USA, so I guess I don't have a real frame of reference. But I like the USA. I do like my country. I don't hate my country. Now, with that being said, if we don't confront these things, if we don't know our fucking history, if we don't get right mentally, we're doomed to repeat these exact same mistakes. Well, that's the end of the video. I really hope anyone watching out there enjoyed watching this video. If you enjoy my content at all, this is my first fucking political video ever. If you enjoy this, I highly recommend you go check out FD Signifier. He makes the type of content I make, but a million times fucking better. Lil Bill, he's also, both these guys are on YouTube. Lil Bill, go check him out. Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, they are not representative of Afghanistan people whatsoever. Don't go around even assuming that. Yeah, let's clear that up right here, right now. These are regular people just like me and you, and just like me and you, their government and their country was taken over by extremists. This isn't an anti-Muslim video. This isn't an anti-Islam video. This is just simply a critique on American imperialism / colonialism and just the at-home consequences it has. Some would even argue intentional at-home consequences, but that's a story for another day. Thank you for watching. Peace.